Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you've joined me today. And we are celebrating a very special holiday. And it is the actual day today, May 17th, Norwegian Independence Day. Yes. And I want you to just come with me to Norway today. And I'm wearing a red shawl because it's the color of the Norwegian flag. And the actual Norwegian flag is, I have in the dish of lefse with the cross on it, but they have made this version of the Norwegian flag, and I think it's for their boats and other things, their houses. So I am using that today. And we are listening to Edvard Grieg, the great Norwegian composer who put the beauty and the drama of Norway, the waterfalls, the fjords, the jutting mountains out of the rough, wild North Sea. Yes, and then there's the Norwegian Sea, and then there's the Arctic Ocean, and then there's just so many different waters that surround this incredible country. And I'm living right here on a little, what I call a little fjord. A fjord is just a little weaving waterway between, or at the, it is like little bays. And if you ever look at the map of Norway, fascinating, it is thousands and thousands of miles of coastline, but it goes in and out and weaves and out. It's not just a straight shot. So, just turn this down a touch here. Edvard Grieg wrote beautiful music, and I had the opportunity to visit his home in Bergen, Norway. And it was the most beautiful, inspiring white wood home built into a mountainside with a waterfall view and the sea. And Bergen is a beautiful, beautiful city in Norway. Do you know that I had the privilege of going with my parents, accompanying my father back to Norway? And it had been 50 years since he had come as a boy of 10. And I was with him, and we hadn't formally planned, but we passed into Norway on Norwegian Independence Day and found ourselves in Bergen. And there was the king and the queen walking among the people. This is what the Norwegians do. They're very down to earth. Yes. And here my father was coming back to his homeland after 50 years. Well, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause and get your tea, and I'll be waiting for you. Now, today is very special to me because I love Norwegian Independence Day, and I thought I'm going for the blue, cobalt blue and white and gold tea set because it reminds me, navy blue and gold always remind me of Norway. When I was young and rode on the train there, it was all blue velvet. They looked like beautiful sitting room chairs with brass on the trains. That was the most beautiful train. Norwegian trains were the most beautiful trains, yes. And they had coffee that was, so good, so expensive. Everything in Norway is expensive, but it's clean and quality. But a little aside, this is my first rose of summer. And it's the yellow rose of Texas. My husband is from Texas, so I want to honor him too on the tea table. He brought this to me yesterday. The rose bush is budding, and this is the first bloom. So I thought, let's put that right there. And I'm going to take my cup. I love cobalt blue and gold. You can't beat that combination. It's so beautiful for China. And we're outside, so look at that steam. I love when the tea steams outside. I remember doing a January tea talk outside once with you. And oh my, did it steam in that cold weather. I was all bundled up in a Russian outfit. I don't know if you remember. For you who are new on the Tea Talk, you can always go to my channel and go back. Everything that's ever been recorded is on there. And each one is unique and different. We go to different countries, talk about different China, different people groups from around the world and history. And we celebrate holidays. So this is a really fun holiday. May is so beautiful to have a holiday. When I was finishing my undergraduate degree, I had come back from living in Europe. And I thought, I want to learn Norwegian. So, oh boy, I tried to take a Norwegian class. Oh, that was so hard. That was very difficult. I know a few words. I had learned a few from my father. But you know, in those days, they wanted, when they came here to this country, they wanted to be Americans. And they didn't speak Norwegian. I remember my grandmother and my grandfather speaking with my father, but they wanted to be Americans, yes, so they didn't teach us. But I do know one, and I'll give it to you. Jeg elsker deg. It means I love you. Jeg elsker deg. And then Gud velsigna vårt hjem. That's God bless our home. I had that in my house for years. Well, I need to put this tea down because let me tell you, I have so much to show you today. I don't know where to start. But let's start with the treat. This is lefse. And I was able to visit another Norwegian fair last weekend. And this was made by the Daughters of Norway Lodge. And I brought it home. And in it I put cinnamon and sugar and butter. Lefse is like you can see it's like a plain, almost like a very thin tortilla, but it's made with mashed potatoes and flour, and it's very, very popular. It's a staple in Norway. And I like to put the little Norwegian flags on the plate. Isn't that fun? And Norwegians love silver. I had friends that told me, older ladies, they're gone on now, but beautiful ladies here that were Norwegian. And they told me that during World War II, their relatives suffered in Norway. Norway was occupied by the German Nazis, and they did not go neutral. So there were many Norwegians that died. And there was an incredible underground going. You can see many movies about it. One story is how they got the gold. They knew the Nazis would take their gold, so they devised a method of having the little children carry on their backpack, on their skis, blocks of gold. And they got them all to the cave, and the Nazis never got the Norwegian gold. Isn't that amazing? It's a true story. You can look it up. The Norwegians were very brave, and I'll tell you another story in a minute, but I want to show you a few things first. This is the king. That was the king when my father came, and it was King Haakon, and his wife was Maud, and then that was the little crown prince, that became the king, that would have been the king when my father visited Norway. And this is just such a beautiful old, he became king in the 1800s, and he was king through the war. And I just love vintage pieces of Scandinavian. When I go to those Norwegian fairs, I just go to the vintage tables, and it's amazing what some of them have. Well, this is something that hangs on my wall, and it says, Var så god, and it's the lady bringing the men their coffee. Very important. Norwegians, coffee, very important. And this is a postcard I framed of a Norwegian girl in a costume. And their costumes are so beautiful. They have, like the Scottish, every tribe or every town has a different costume. You can look this up. And I have friends that are Swedish that are getting Norwegian costumes, making them because they're so beautiful. The Swedish costumes are nice, but they're more peasant-like, whereas the Norwegian costumes, I will show you, have a royal flair to them. And this is a little doll, my little Norwegian doll, with her bridal crown. They have a bridal crown. This is an authentic Norwegian doll, and I don't know what, she's got a marking on the back, and it's actually, it's an authentic, made in Norway, and it's a Hilse doll. And if you see the bridal crown was passed down generationally, and that's part of her costume. But there are many, many costumes, and the Hardanger costume is extremely beautiful. It has that lace work. Then I have these plates that I have hanging in my kitchen. I love blue, white, and yellow in my kitchen. This is the girl. And these are probably from, maybe, I would say, perhaps they're depicting from the last century. There's the boy. I'll try to hold him. Let's see. Here's the boy, and here's the girl. Isn't that beautiful? I love a kitchen that is like part Dutch, part Norwegian, and part Swedish. I love blue and white with touches of yellow. And you know, it is said that yellow is a color that gives you a lot of energy, like the sun. Well, then I met this lady that is so dear, and she lives up in Port Angeles. She's an artist, and she paints the dancing on Midsummer. And here is another card of it. And these are real people. She told me that her husband is one of the people dancing. They go to Norway, and they have all these wonderful folk dances. And Edvard Grieg includes a lot of that. This is a banner that you can hang in your house. And she painted all of these. I met her. You know, this is the girl with the accordion, and then they have the fiddle. Lots of music, lots of dancing, lots of fun. Now this is a plate that is older, and I like it when they have the men and women together dancing. Telemark, it says 1970. But this one is one that dear friends of mine years ago, it says Hardanger 2, and I think it's the little girl wearing the little girl Hardanger costume. And I had some dear friends in Seattle that were actually Swedish, but they loved me and they gave me this. And they said, that's you, Susan, holding the flowers. There's the church, there's the mountains, there's the sea. It's everything I love in one picture. Isn't that sweet? And I just hang that in my kitchen. And it comes out quite nice. I'm going to put a little, I try to not scratch them, but I thought I've got to show my tea table friends just a little touch of what I like. And I'm wearing red and blue. Now, I'm not wearing a Norwegian costume. I don't really have a costume. I have a beautiful Norwegian sweater, but I have to get that out. I put it away way deep in my closet so the moths wouldn't get it. So I'll wear that another time, but this is a pin, and it's called Solveig, and they're handmade gold pins in Norway, and this is always worn on the costume. This is one that, and has, it's hard to see, but it has a crown, and then it has the hanging dangles, and it's symbolic. It's a royal piece. And when I was a little girl, my grandmother had gone back to Norway, and came back, and she brought me a pin, and I have it somewhere. It's really a big one. And someday I'd like to put together, some kind of a little costume. I used to have what I called kind of an ethnic, it was German, Norwegian kind of together, but the real Norwegian costumes are thousands of dollars. And they lock them in a closet with lock and key because they are so priceless. They really are. It's all hand beadwork and very involved and very, very lovely. And Norwegians are very proud of their independence because they were under the Danish throne. The Norwegians and the Danes are really the same people, and so are the Icelanders, because remember, Eric the Red and Leif Erikson were the explorers to Iceland, and they were Viking Norwegians. And so Iceland is really, the roots of it is Norwegian. And so, but Norway wanted their own king because they had a royal house that had gone infused into the Danish house. So when they finally got their independence in the early 1800s, it's really not that long ago, early 1800s, they got their Norwegian independence. And so this day is very, very, very special to the Norwegians. Everyone wants to have their own country, their own family, their own land, yes. And Norway is very, very close to Denmark, even geographically. And then Sweden and Finland are next door to each other. They're very close also. But all the Scandinavian countries are good friends. They're peace-loving people, yes. And I am wearing my Baltic Amber, and I found out that is very, very Viking. The Vikings wore amber. So that's my completed little Norwegian presentation. But for you who ask me, they like my purse. I brought a purse. It's not Norwegian, but it's the color of the Norwegian flag. It's a red purse that I carried a lot in past days. And it has a nice clasp. And it's a very nice real leather purse. Very fun. And my friend who is making a Norwegian costume, well, she's buying part of it online, and then she's making part of it herself. She bought the pattern and is really involved. Well, she said there are 2 reds you can get. When you see the vest, often the vest is red. And so you can, I'm going to change this because I want to get to his piano concerto. Let's see if I can get down there. Maybe that's coming next. That's really beautiful. Okay, we'll let that go. Anyway, they have this color red that I am wearing, and I don't know what they call it. I should have asked her, but it's the deep red. It's the color of the flag, my headband, the color of the purse. Then my other friend, Jeannie, who is very Norwegian, has a beautiful costume. She has the bright orange-red vest. And so you can choose, because my friend that's making her costume, she had to order from Norway the pattern and the wool. They sell it. And I don't know what she decided on. She was trying to decide between this and the bright. I like them both. It would be hard to choose. But I think this color is nice for me. I like it. I think maybe the blondes would like the more orange-red. Well, I have another treat. Okay, this is called krumkake. And I think I've had krumkake on here before. It looks like an ice cream cone. It's butter, almond, flour. Everything the Norwegians make is butter, sugar, almond, flour. Flour, sugar, almond, butter. Almond, sugar, butter, flour. And some cardamom in all different varieties. These are absolutely delicious. They really are. I only have 2 left here for you. I got them at the fair too, and I shared them with the family. My mother used to make these, and I have her krumkake maker, and she would put whipped cream in them. And that's a very common thing to do also. I personally, I'm not a whipped cream person, and I like them just plain with a strong black cup of coffee. The coffee really brings out the little cardamom and the almond flavor, yes. Isn't this rose just beyond the world? It's so perfect. And you know what? These roses smell. They have beautiful scent. Some of the roses they're beautiful, but they don't have a scent. Well, you know, I do have one more thing here. Let's put the rose over here. I'll put my cup here. This little flower I have is being held by something really special. This is a Norwegian pewter bowl, and I am going to try to put it up there so you can see. It has a story. It is the bridal story. They're taking the girl across the fjord in a boat. The man is playing a fiddle. The other man is blowing the horn. Then they get off and they take her to the church on the horse. And they're singing and playing around her. There's a flute player in front. Isn't that beautiful? I have the painting of that. And it is a very famous painting. And what it is that, you know, they had such huge landmass that not every fjord had a church. In fact, my grandmother, who came from Vesterålen, up north in the islands, not far from Lofoten Islands, northwest, she told me, and she grew up in a 17-room house. Her father had a fleet of fishing vessels. And this was so far north, and she said, if the river or the fjord had frozen, he would go out with an axe on Sunday morning and break the ice, and they would get in the boat, and they would go across to church. They did not miss church. Now, isn't that interesting? And they would, I remember my grandmother telling me they didn't have any policemen. Her grandfather, when he would walk in the church, the whole church stood up, and she said they called him the Kaiser of the town. Well, he was probably the mayor, and he would solve the problems. And the minister. They had just good law and order and honesty, and it's just really interesting. Now, she would have been born in the 1890s, because she was 20 when she married in 1910. Yes. And so she was born at a time before. In fact, when my father came, he came in 1923. He was 10. He had only seen one car. He was from the north of Norway, and the only person that had a car was the minister, because the minister was the most highly educated among all, and he would have to travel between towns. But I don't know what the roads were like, really, because the roads probably weren't that great. And what would you do if you had a flat tire, you know? Who knows? But that was, my dad was so fascinated with cars because of that. It was just such a special thing. And so then, I'm going to see if I can get for you before I want you to hear this. I want to hear that piano concerto by him, the great one. Let's see. I'm going to find it. I saw it. I think this is it. You know, his music is very, very famous for its drama, because he was depicting the land. And but when I went to the Norwegian Museum in Decorah, Iowa, where my daughter went to college, Luther College, I've talked about it before, it's called the Vesterheim. Vester means west, Heim is home. It's the Western home. It's the largest ethnic museum in America. There's 4 floors. It has a ship in it, a ship where Norwegians came across the ocean. It is just a fascinating museum. And what it is the farmers from all of that Iowa area in 1860 built a college to train ministers. And that in 1860, that was the beginning of Luther College. Well, then it's grown into, it went from a ministerial into a 4-year college, and now it's a complete, university. And I don't know, I'm trying to find this. Anyway, so in the museum, in the basement, if you ever get to go there, the King of Norway comes to Decorah. They call it Little Norway. In June, they have the big midsummer, and they have the big parade and everything. Well, they have a display of Iowa farm boys that were conscripted into the army in World War II because they spoke Norwegian at home with their parents. And they knew how to ski, and so they gave them white suits, and on the lapel is a Norwegian flag and an American flag. And they were the underground ski patrol. They were flown into Norway, and they were the underground spies that really did great things and won the war. Because if you study World War II at all, you'll notice that Hitler always wanted Norwegian, he called it heavy water. There's something about the water he needed to make his bombs and things. So that's why he occupied the coast of Norway. And it was just really terrible. They even bombed Oslo. I had a friend who told me, this older lady, and she said that they would go to the bomb shelter every night. And her father said, when this is over, I'm taking you to America, a wonderful country that's free. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I just really hope that you will, if you are Norwegian, you'll take pride in your heritage. But Norway opens its arms to every country. Norway is very fair, very loving, and very kind. And they always are there to help others. Yes, it's a very Christian country. You know, it has the cross on the flag. That's the real flag right there. I think that's really nice. Red, white, and blue, the same as us. Well, I hope you're having a good week, and I hope that you take pride and joy in whatever nationality you are, because every country has such value and such beauty. I love to learn about all the different people groups. The contributions are so great. I love history, and I think it's so important we study our roots and who we are and where we came from, so we can know where we're going. Yes. Well, don't forget your tea. And I can't believe we're coming almost to the end of May. This is just, we have one more tea talk in May, which will be, my goodness, next weekend is Memorial Day. Hard to believe. It seems like just one holiday follows another. Well, I'll give you one more peek at this lovely little tea set here. I think I'll put the yellow rose of Texas back behind so you can see this, because I think this blue and white and gold is just so beautiful. Take out your best and serve someone a cup of tea this week. You won't be sorry. You know, when you set a table with a nice cloth and have a few nice pieces of china, it really doesn't take much to make a beautiful tea table and make people happy. Yes. Okay, well, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, because then you will get a notification. There's so many of you now, I don't know who all of you are, and I may miss someone of notifying, and I don't want to do that. So please subscribe and share with others. Everyone's welcome to the tea table. And if you like it, I really enjoy a like. It's very, very nice to have a like. And if you really have a comment, that also is extremely nice. I really appreciate it. So, God bless. And I'm going to say goodbye now. And this is kind of like a Norwegian day. It's kind of breezy. It's kind of sunny, kind of cold. Pacific Northwest, when my grandmother came here, she said the reason I can be happy here is because it's so much like Norway. The mountains, the sea, the fjords, the islands, the green, the blue, the fishing, the lumber, just so much, so many similarities. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a fabulous week. And give someone a good word today. Yes.